Lebanese officials say nearly 500 people have been killed, including 35 children, in Israeli strikes on the south of the country.
What is the solution for these issues? Like, why are we waiting for non-Muslims to speak on our behalf? Hezbollah is not just a military thing, it owns the country. Like, this is the problem, our technological backwardness. 2 billion Muslims, and we're so helpless, so hopeless. Why? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. This is Sheikh also here from the IT Show, and today we're going to discuss a very serious issue, an issue that almost killed over 4,000 people within 2 minutes or half an hour. And everybody knows what happened in Lebanon, the terror that went through the whole country, especially in the capital city of Beirut, where over 4,000 pagers, these little phone-looking devices, exploded in people's faces, in people's bodies. It created holes in people's abdomens. It's terrifying. People lost their eyes, lost their fingers. And these bombs went everywhere. It went off everywhere. They went off in marketplaces, in civilians' apartments, in pharmacies, even in hospitals, and even in funerals. Now, I have a report right here in front of me, basically from the United Nations. We're going to show it on the screen, that actually says this is definitely, it's a terrifying breach of international law, and possibility of two counts of war crimes. One for indiscriminate, act of violence and murder, which did include civilians. There was kids. There were little kids, 10 years old and 12 years old and so forth, that died in these explosions within the civilian areas. And the second count of war crime possibility is creating terror across the whole country, the whole civilian population. I mean, yes, the United Nations basically did say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but there's no action. People in Gaza have been being slaughtered for 1 full year. And that's what's very important for you to understand. What is the solution for these issues? Why are we being bombarded like that and squashed? We're squashed literally, just like, when you're walking basically down the street and you see a little grape and you just step on it. This is how I feel. We're so cheap. We're so cheap. Our blood is so cheap. Imagine this happened in any Western country. The whole world will basically go upside down. People might even go nuclear because of this. But it's Muslim. It's okay. It's okay. Like, why are we waiting for non-Muslims to come protect us and save us and speak on our behalf? Look, every single human being represents their own values. And the Western values have proven their deficiency and inhumane nature for a long time now, right? There's nothing totally surprising here. But what is surprising, though, but really what is surprising is you, the Muslims. 2 billion Muslims. And we're so helpless, so hopeless. Why? How come basically 25% of the planet can't even basically stand for itself? Now, put Hezbollah aside, right? It's labeled as a terrorist organization by the Western world, and not only them, basically, even lots of Muslims would call Hezbollah as a terrorist organization, especially the people of Syria, because sadly Hezbollah spent the last maybe 10 years plus defending the tyrannical, murderous, draconian regime in Syria, the Assad regime that killed, slaughtered, raped thousands and tens of thousands of Muslims in Syria. Now, Hezbollah, for the last, that's why many people call it Hizb Iran. I'm just going to basically keep the labels as it is because I want to be objective. For the last 12 years, have defended this murderous regime. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because, look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never forgets. I'm not here basically joyful that people died, because I don't know who died. There could be civilians, basically. I'm Lebanese, so people who understand Lebanon, Hezbollah is not just a military thing. It owns the country. It's in government. It owns hospitals. It runs the army, runs the society. So there's lots of people who just work and are part of these. And that's why. So what happened was a despicable murder that actually did target civilians. At least it didn't care about civilians, knowing that it will basically harm lots of people. And when I say there was a bomb, exploded in a funeral, for God's sakes, in a funeral. Maybe some people are questioning, how come basically the Muslims in Lebanon, forget about Hezbollah, are getting smashed like that? Well, when Hezbollah is running such a country, and they've done such a murderous act against the Syrians, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never forgets. Allah never forgets. And that's why, you can see basically what's happening right now is maybe, as they say in English, what goes around comes around. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. And these days, basically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we turn them around a bit across people. One day for you, one day against you. So I'm sad. Like, don't get me wrong. There's no joy today. It's definitely we should always be sad for loss of life, especially innocent civilian life. And we're sad for our countries to basically be so easily penetratable and having no dignity. The fighter jets of the Israelis come in Lebanon, just destroys whatever they want. They just destroyed a whole civilian apartment building. Yes, they were targeting basically people of Hezbollah, but what about the civilians? Is this how things work today, where civilian life has zero dignity and honor? Anyway, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala demands from the Ummah unity. And when we say unity, when I speak about unity, maybe unlike many other people, and some people might say you start throwing tomatoes at me because they don't like unity. There's some of us, part of why we're weak is because we're divided. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, after أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وأطيعوا الله ورسوله ولا تنازعوا فتفشلوا وتذهب ريحكم, meaning, obey Allah and His Messenger, and do not divide, do not bicker, do not fight amongst yourselves, because if you do so, you'll become weak and your strength will dissipate. And this is what happened over the last couple hundred years. We became people of very factional. Forget 200 years, maybe the last 100 years. Last 100 years, we just started becoming factions. I mean, since 1915, with the Arab Revolution in support of the British. Imagine the Arab Revolt of 1915 supporting the British to invade the Muslim land against the Ottomans, who defended Islam and the Muslimin for over 600 years. This is the downfall. This is the beginning of the downfall, when Muslims basically start turning against Muslims. And when I say Muslim, I really mean it. A Sunni is a Muslim and a Shia is a Muslim. As a Sunni, basically, I might not agree with the beliefs, some beliefs of the Shia, but that doesn't mean they're not Muslim brothers and sisters. And this is hard to swallow for many people. But we have to be able to pass this barrier and accept Muslims who truly believe in the 6 pillars of Iman. If people have these 6 principles and they do not negate them in a major way, in a fundamental way, then they're Muslim. A Muslim who drinks alcohol, who goes to the clubs, who has tattoos and might have a girlfriend, he's still Muslim. I disapprove of his behavior, but he's still my brother in Islam. Similarly, a person who might have certain beliefs, right, aqaid, that basically might be also, from my perspective, false, doesn't basically kick him out of the fold of Islam. He or she are still my brothers and sisters. Sadly, we have a culture of cancellation. We have a culture of intolerance. And that's where we're weak. I mean, who's paying the price? We're all paying the price together. If the Sunnis and the Shia are not going to be united, the 2 billion people are not going to be united, we're going to continue to divide amongst ourselves. And this is my message to everybody, is that we need to understand that our disunity is leading to our weakness, and our weakness is leading to our decline and all the calamities that's been hitting us for the last century. The last point today that came to my mind when I saw all these atrocities is our technological backwardness. I mean, bro, for God's sakes, a country like Lebanon, right, has maybe one of the best universities in the Middle East, can't manufacture little dummy pagers, for God's sakes. You have to go import them from the outside and get tricked by some Israeli firm. Come on. Like, this is the problem. This is the problem. Our countries do not encourage investment in technology and the sciences. And we accepted this state of affairs today. I call to all Muslims in the Muslim world, even here, to start investing in science and technology, and start investing in making our countries technologically a little bit more better, a little bit more advanced. Because how can you basically be independent as a country, any country, forget about war, forget about the context here today, without having your own food sources, your own energy sources, your own technological sources, your own currency and economy that's independent, that can stand on its own feet? We can't be independent like that. And people who are dependent, they're slaves. So somebody has to say it. You know how it works. I don't basically sugarcoat things. We have lots of problems in disunity, in being backward from a technological perspective. And the disunity leads to the backwardness in technology, the backwardness in our economy, the backwardness in our self-sufficiency. And when you're dependent, you have no choice. As they say in English, beggars are not choosers. So when you're a beggar, you got no choice. And when you have no choice, you're not a free person. And when you're not free, you're a slave to others. So I'll leave you with these thought-provoking ideas and questions. And please, put your thoughts and questions on the comment section. Share this video with everybody. Please subscribe to the channel. And hopefully we'll see you inshallah in another episode next week. Bi-idhnillah ta'ala. Barakallahu fikum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.